Hi, Cisco instructor Andrea here, and I have asked a GCC student, Robert, to join me, as well as a senior engineer with a local ISP. And what we wanted to talk about today was some of the education or knowledge that's helpful when you are going into cybersecurity. One of the things that I've noticed as a Cisco instructor is that a lot of my students want to go into cybersecurity, and I want to impart upon them the importance of understanding networking. So what better way to do that than talk to a current cybersecurity student, as well as someone that works with people that are doing cybersecurity all the time. So, Robert, what can you tell me about, like, how has your networking classes helped you in your cybersecurity studies and classes?
Well, a lot of the concepts that they talk about early on in cybersecurity are things we've already talked about in networking. VLANs, for instance, are talked about in the 150 class, and they start talking about hopping VLAN attacks. And then if you don't know what a VLAN is, they explain it to you. What we take 2 weeks to explain, they explain like 5 minutes. So you don't get the full ground of information about what a hopping VLAN attack is. But if you've already got that networking already behind you, it's just another concept.
Okay, so in other words, stuff you've already learned in your networking classes are coming in handy in your cybersecurity, because then you don't have a knowledge gap. Is that right?
Yes, and they throw a lot of information at you in cybersecurity. You're expected to know a lot of stuff, and if you've already been exposed to some of it, or if you already know the networking part of it, you're already ahead of the game.
Okay. And so, Spencer, what would you say about the importance of a person who's thinking about going into cybersecurity, of when you get into the workforce or you're dealing with customers, how important of a role is networking knowledge?
So that's a great question. So it's very interesting when you think about cybersecurity. You got to first of all look at what you're securing, right? You're usually securing your network. You're securing your data. You're securing something. I do a lot of cloud storage stuff, and so you're securing the network from potential attacks like VLAN hopping attacks, DDoS attacks. And if you don't know the networking fundamentals of how the network works, it's hard to secure that. So the lack of that networking knowledge is a huge gap in the industry. And I talk to security people, and that's all they do is security. But usually on that same call, I have the networking side on that. So there's two sides of that. So the security folks rely on the networking guys to tell them exactly how the network is working. But a combination, those guys work together in order to secure their networks. And some of this is really large scale. But on a small scale, you have to understand how the network works, how a firewall works, and how that security all plays into that network. Without that networking background, it's very difficult to have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, what I find is that if a student understands, like, okay, I start at the source, right? And then the packet and or the data is moving through a network and it's heading to a destination, anywhere along that path is a vulnerability. Well, we teach all about that path in the Cisco classes. So, Robert, another question for you. So have you been in class before with a student that didn't have any networking experience? And how is their experience in a cybersecurity class compared to your experience in a cybersecurity class?
Well, we have a few classmates online that are trying to grasp the concepts, but it goes so fast, and there's so much of it that it's just another layer for them to memorize. They spend roughly 10, 20, 30 minutes on an assignment that takes me like 10.
Got it.
They do struggle because they have to learn vocabulary too. What is this? What does this do? Or what device is this? I've never seen this device before. You know,
Gotcha.
What is a demilitarized zone?
Uh-huh. So I think it's fair to say that from the perspective of an instructor, right, and from the perspective of someone in industry and the perspective of a student in cybersecurity, I think it's pretty safe to say that having a good foundation of networking knowledge, we would all agree with. Yeah.
Yes, and there is one more thing. In the later networking classes, they do expose you to security. And the more times you're exposed to these concepts, the more times they're going to stick in your mind. Because like I said, they throw a lot of concepts at you, a lot of concepts that have nothing to do with computing, and memorizing those plus memorizing things that you would already have memorized in networking, it makes your life a lot easier.
Good point. Well, listen, I appreciate both of your perspectives, and I hope this helps some students decide to take some networking classes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.